We've all met someone like this. They're not careless. They're not lost. If anything, they look like they're trying harder than everyone else. They show up. They handle responsibilities. They do what they're supposed to do. From the outside, they look stable. But then, years pass, and nothing really changes. Nothing moves forward. They're stuck in this strange loop. Almost okay, almost stable, almost ahead, but never quite there. And here's the truth. It's not because they're lazy. It's not because they're not trying. It's a pattern, a psychological one. Today, I'm going to show you the 3 specific behaviors that keep people trapped in survival mode. And the third one is the most dangerous because there's a high chance you're doing it right now without even realizing it. Let's break them down, one by one. Pattern 1. Money that was never meant to stay. The first one is easy to miss because it feels completely normal. Most people don't really use money. They release it, it comes in, and almost immediately it finds a way out. Not recklessly, not all at once, but consistently. Think about someone who gets paid on Friday. By Sunday evening, rent is covered, groceries are done, something small was ordered online, and the account is already back to survival mode. Nothing irresponsible happened. Nothing dramatic. Just release. A bill here, something small there, a reward at the end of a tiring week. It feels deserved. It feels harmless. And that's exactly why it never gets questioned. Morgan Housel, author of The Psychology of Money, one of the best-selling finance books of the last decade, spent years studying this exact pattern. His finding was uncomfortable. Doing well with money, he concluded, has almost nothing to do with intelligence. It's entirely about behavior. And behavior is the one thing nobody ever sits down to examine. And no one ever stops to ask why. So, money keeps moving, in and out. And if nothing ever stays, nothing can grow. Pattern 2. Growth. That isn't really growth. The second pattern is more visible, but somehow even easier to ignore, because it doesn't feel like a problem. It feels like progress. And most people live this without ever naming it. Picture this. Someone gets a raise in January. By March, they're somehow just as tight as before. Their life just got more expensive. New phone, slightly better car, a lifestyle that looks just a little more put together. Nothing extreme, just upgrades, the kind that make you feel like you're moving forward. But look closer. Economists have a name for this. They call it lifestyle inflation. And research shows it happens almost automatically. Not because people are reckless, but because the brain quietly recalibrates its definition of normal every single time income rises. What felt like a luxury last year becomes a necessity this year. And the gap between earning and building stays exactly the same. So no matter how much improves on paper, your position doesn't. You're still managing, still calculating, still waiting for things to settle. They just never do. Because what looks like growth is often just expansion. And expansion, without anything left behind, doesn't create stability. It creates dependence on the next raise, the next opportunity, the next version of more. And until that arrives, everything feels slightly tight. Pattern 3. When money becomes emotional. The third pattern is the quietest and the most difficult to notice because it doesn't look like a decision. It feels like a reaction. Richard Thaler, Nobel Prize-winning economist, dedicated decades of research to understanding exactly this. He called it mental accounting. His conclusion was this: people don't make financial decisions with logic. They make them with emotion. Money that arrives after a hard week feels different from money that was saved carefully. So it gets treated differently, spent differently, avoided differently. Not because of reason, because of feeling. A long day ends, and something small gets ordered. Not out of need, just to shift the feeling. A notification comes in, and you hesitate to open your banking app. Not because you don't care, but because you already know the weight it carries. A thought about the future appears, and gets quietly pushed aside. I'll deal with it later. Later becomes next week, then next month. Then, it just becomes the way things are. None of these moments seem important. That's the trick. They're small enough to ignore, but consistent enough to decide everything. Because over time, your relationship with money stops being practical. It becomes emotional, avoidance, relief, temporary comfort. And those patterns don't announce themselves. They don't feel like mistakes. They feel like coping. Until one day, you look at your situation and realize it didn't happen suddenly. It formed slowly, in moments that never felt like they mattered. Now what you can actually do. Seeing these patterns doesn't instantly fix them. There will still be days where nothing feels different. Moments where the same choices repeat themselves. That's okay. That's human. But here's where the shift begins. Start by watching where your money goes in the first 48 hours after it arrives. Just observe. Don't judge. Don't change anything yet. Just watch. That one window, those first 48 hours, will show you which pattern is running your financial life. Pattern 1, and it releases immediately. Pattern 2, and it gets absorbed into a lifestyle upgrade. Pattern 3, and it gets avoided entirely. You don't need a new budget. You don't need a new income. You need to see the pattern clearly first, because you cannot change what you have never truly looked at. Most people never sit with this long enough. They go back to distraction, back to routine, back to what feels familiar, and the pattern continues. Quietly, efficiently, indefinitely. But if you've made it this far, you've already stepped slightly outside of it, and that changes something, not all at once, but enough. Because nothing about this is random, and nothing about it is fixed. It follows a pattern, and once you can see the pattern clearly, you're no longer fully inside it. And that's where things finally begin to shift. Quietly, slowly, but this time, not in circles. Before you move on, sit with one question. Which pattern felt like yours? You don't have to answer out loud. But if you want to, the comments are right there. And if this video made you see something you hadn't seen before, share it with one person who needs to hear this. Not everyone is ready for this conversation, but someone in your life is. New videos every week on the psychology behind the patterns that quietly shape our lives. If that matters to you, stick around. I'll see you in the next one.